Hello, everyone. Right, so I'm going to talk about SystemLink for. So Mark earlier gave us an overview of what SystemLink does. I'm going to focus on the software deployment and configuration management side of it. And depending on how the time goes, later we can I have a demo server up with quite a lot of data, so we can look at some of the other things, aspects of like the test monitoring and so on, if you guys are interested. All right, so that's me. I'm from CPE Systems in Auckland, New Zealand. Been using LabVIEW since uni in 2010-ish. Formally introduced LabVIEW since 2014 when I joined CPE, and then TestStand, and using SystemLink since 2018, like from the first version of SystemLink. I have a CLD since 2014, and recently a CPI. Try to run a few training sessions in New Zealand, mostly core 1 and 2 at this point. Yeah, so I enjoy those. A week of teaching and sharing knowledge. That's really refreshing. Cool. Our giants are female. It seems to be the theme, but it's again my mom. Steve actually pointed out that I should bring up, and I wouldn't be here without her today. Yeah, so she's a doctor, and she's back in India, and she's quite popular in the community there. I think some of her patients range across, like in a family, four generations. And the reason I bring up is since November last year, she diagnosed with cancer, but man, she just hit it out of the park. And I think 2 days after her final chemo, I asked her, do you want to, when you take some time off? And she's like, no, I have patients waiting for me for critical surgery. I can't take time off. I was like, okay, if that's what you want to do. And she actually worked through her chemo sessions and all that. So, and I'm looking forward to meeting her after about a year and a half next week. Going over to India, I was waiting to get GDevCon book tickets based on this after GDevCon was announced, actually. Yeah, I'm excited to take my 5-month-old and to meet her grandparents. Cool. The agenda for today. We'll talk a little bit of background on when software deployment, when you get into software deployment stage. Then I'll use test systems as an example. Talk about what you could use, at least tools what I'm aware of. There might be something, might be a few other tools out there. And then we'll dive into SystemLink and NI package builder and SystemLink, and the demo after that. Yeah. Cool. So background, so you might develop some nice and shiny LabVIEW code, TestStand code. You might use some of Nick's techniques to program faster, some of Chris's techniques to make it run faster, optimize the code, and then Chris Farmer's techniques to do quality checks. And now you're ready to deploy, and you run into challenges, just typical software lifecycle challenges, right? Where you deploy it, you start getting software bugs that you didn't see when you were developing it. And then your customers might change requirements, and that might be forced to change. So you will have to push updates for that. Hardware and firmware changes, quite possible hardware failure. Your PC could, like it happened to Nick the other day, his laptop could go up in smoke as soon as you connect to your test system. And to add to all that, you have the challenges of software version management, remote deployment, trying to work with overseas CMs, and then language and travel restrictions like we have seen. I mean, language because it might be overseas, and travel restrictions like we have seen in the last few years, right? All right, so let's, for this presentation, focus on test systems because that's what the kind of the theme of the day is. And in a typical test system, you might have multiple programming languages, hardware from various manufacturers. You might have NI hardware, third-party hardware, different variants of DUTs, device under tests. Again, overseas CMs, multiple production sites and test stations. So some companies like to split their production sites between countries and different CMs just to reduce their risk. And the last one, rollback and recovery, is you go deploy something, make changes, and then you have this issue, all these issues come up. How do I quickly go back to an older version without much downtime for production, right? So processes and tools might have manual processes. You could start taking a USB stick, copy it into it, build your EXEs, different EXEs, and then start going to your test stations. It might involve traveling, highly error prone, and it's not systematic. You could install one package of one installer after the other and vice versa, and it might actually cause more issues than resolving issues. And then time zone lags and travel issues also come up in your manual processes. You could use tools like TeamViewer, but still manual, right? And I'm not too familiar with this, but all your Atlassian tools like Jira, Bamboo, Confluence, or proper documentation, they're really management tools, is how I understand it. But you can have your process set out and you can have checklists and so on. It does improve your manual process, so you can do it more efficiently, but there's still the pain. It's not automated and not really designed for deployment of test and measurement systems, right? All right, and SVN and GIT, we have customers and clients that use SVN and GIT on their production test system, but again, not really designed for it. That's your source code development system, version control systems, not really deployment, and you can't really manage if your customer or the CM has used the latest version of code, and you can't really monitor that unless you create your own API on top of it, I guess. And then you have, if you have your source code in the same SVN or GIT repository, you might expose that, and you might have IP issues, and you can't really automate installation of third-party software and drivers and so on. All right, and then you have test and deployment utility. How many of you have used test and deployment utility? Do you like it? Have pain points in it? No? Yeah? You shrug away from it, Chris? Yeah, same. Quite a few people I've talked to like, try to keep away from it. So yeah, exactly. It has MSI installers, so many dependency issues and versioning and updates. You can't really version it. And you can version your MSI installers, but not really at the test sequence level and so on. It's slow, which is what Nick brought up yesterday, and it's not really easily reproducible. So you make a small limit change, and you can deploy patches, but then it's just still very a hard process to get it out there. All right, since I've kind of set the stage there, let's go into where NI package builder and SystemLink comes into it. So NI package builder is the package building utility that NI has out there. They came out maybe 3 or 4 years, or probably more, along with SystemLink, probably around the 2018 timeframe, where you can produce reproducible packages. We'll go through the terms in just a bit in the next slide. You can accurately, or you can assign dependencies to your packages. So you can assign like one package depends on the other. So you can decide what order your installation happens in your test systems. Supports scripting, and third-party software is kind of related to scripting. So if you to install third-party software, you'll have to use some sort of scripting. I'll do a demo of that. And then version control. And so if you don't have SystemLink, you can still version control or at least view your versions installed on your client PCs using Package Manager. So you can, your custom packages show up on NI Package Manager and you can see what versions installed. And add SystemLink to it, you get a few other additional features like centralized monitoring. So again, I think it was in Mark's slides earlier, but I'll show a quick demo later where you can see multiple stations in one screen and monitor and manage them. Remote deployment, so you can deploy test systems remotely. And so software deploy, undeploy, both, and then version control across multiple multiple systems. You can see what version is installed on, or packages are installed on one system, compare it to another, sync it up, and so on as well. And it gives you scalability. So if you have deployed 2 systems, now you're deploying 4 more test stations in a different country. Easy. You install SystemLink client on those test stations manually, or using package installers. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then from there on, you can then just select 2. Let's say you have your system number 1, which is your reference system. Select both systems and package SystemLink, and then go install, and just replicates them. And then you can integrate using the API, which Mark talked about earlier. You can integrate it with other platforms and tools. Plus, you get all the other, along with SystemLink, you can start getting data. Once you've deployed everything into your test stations, you start getting data from your test stations, and you can monitor it and so on. All right, so a few terms we need to, I'll be using in my demo today. One's package. So package, you would have probably used NI Package Manager, and it installs packages. Package is effectively a zip file with some metadata and instructions on how to install and the order of installation and so on. Package dependency is how one package relates to another. So that forces which package installs first and so on. Also, it'll error out if you have issues in, if you say you don't have it. You might have actually seen, even with NI packages, it says you can't install this because it doesn't have the right version. Usually it's to do with Package Manager itself. It says you don't have to, you have to update Package Manager to install this. That's a dependency there. Feed is a group of packages, and we'll see that. So, and you actually, if you go into the advanced settings on Package Manager, you can see the feeds there, mostly from NI website, NI repositories, which is the next term. Repository is a group of feeds. And package installer, how many of you have used the install offline button from NI website on the download? Yeah, so that's your package installer where you don't need to have your computer online to install packages. All right, and software setup, you'll need Package Manager to start with, or you can download the offline installer for the next few things. Package Builder usually installs along with TestEnd, and if you like to take advantage of the SystemLink side of it, you'll need a SystemLink server and SystemLink clients, and some patience. It's not going to be quick. It's not as quick as building LabVIEW executable. So you need to be patient, and this, once it's set up, is easy, but the setup might take some time. So be patient. All right, this is a general process flow. You start with your code, and obviously the code will need to be ready to be packaged up, and it can't be just like how Jason yesterday from NTech talked about build your PCBs, and even Chris from ResMed talked about this morning, right? You need to build your PCB for testability. Same thing, you need your code ready to be deployed as packages. A few things to take care of, and then in Package Builder, you build your packages, upload it to SystemLink, deploy it to your test stations, and then you can monitor from SystemLink using a web page, right? Or manage it, monitor and manage. All right, should we get into the demo then? So go to my other screen. Cool. Showing Package Builder, and I'll drag it across to the other screen. Cool. So there you go. So we're going to start with Package Builder, assuming we have some source code. So I would like to acknowledge one of our customers, eRoad, today, who has agreed to use. So you'll probably see some of their names coming up, but I'm not obviously going to divulge what we're testing, but you'll see their name coming up a little bit. So this Package Builder, as you can see, it's a bit, as Nick said, it's a bit intimidating, right? When you look at it first, what's going on? So many windows there. Where do I start? It is not very easy to get started when you look at it as first time you open Package Builder. But if you look at it from left to right, you can see inputs on the left. Center bit is outputs. The top panel is packages, where create a package soon. Outputs are like a log file, actually gets saved into log files. And then the right-hand panel is where you create packages and installers. So let's get started. We'll add a folder. Let's pick eRoad. I'm going to add the test system today. Yeah, discovering dependencies. Actually discovers test stand dependencies. It does, you can see warnings coming up straight away. But I mean, you can go through each of those discovery dependencies. It really depends on how you have configured your test sequence, in test stand, your search directories and so on. So it might throw up warnings out there that might not be related to your application. So again, don't get overwhelmed as soon as you see your warnings coming up. You can see that it's just a long list. So again, intimidating, but not that bad. All right, let's collapse that. And I'm going to add another folder. Let's add my package builder. Let's add something else. Shared library source. I don't think we'll deploy it, but let's add something just so that you can see. All right. Cool. So now that you have added your inputs, so those are the source files. And think of manually copy pasting things into the right place and installing. So that's pretty much what you're trying to do here, but automate that. And let's start with creating a package. I'm going to call that play test limits. Oh, I had my caps lock on. Cool. And then I should have grabbed my mouse, but it's all right. All right. Just select that. You can see now the center bit is where you configure your outputs, just like in LabVIEW's exe config, right? Build config. You say what goes where. So in this case, I want my under test sequences. I have a limits file there that we go. And I want that in, say, C, the system. And what I found, the easiest thing to do is actually drag the whole test sequences folder, and then I want the I don't need the comments. I'm just going to delete everything else that I don't need. I'll need that. I don't need the sequence. I'm going to delete that. So now, when you install the package, it's going to put that file, erode ruck display rev1.tsv, into C. So if you, there you go. It actually shows you where the location is. Boot volume, which is C, test system, test sequences, ruck display, limits files. So that's where it's going to end up when we build the package. So the other thing you need to set up is the package properties. These are the properties that show up on Package Manager and SystemLink. So it's important that you set this up right. The output directory is where your built package is going to end up. Package name, you can't have spaces here, so, or capital letters, because it uses URLs and so on. So just put in whatever you want. In this case, I'll just leave it as this. I'll show an actual example in a bit, and we'll try making some changes and deploying it as well. And you can select Windows versions. This is just a category to filter it in SystemLink later, so you can define where it falls. So I'll leave it as application software. It's kind of related to that. Version. Next build, as you can see, there's version next build in brackets. So next build, it updates, and you can see here, updates the 4th field. So you might just build multiple packages without making changes. So it's just the build version. But if you want to change, I would recommend leaving it that. And then when you make changes, change that field instead. Oops. 1.0. And then put in your description and release notes there as well. So that's all documented within your code. And you can still use this along with systems in place in your company for releasing software like Confluence. In our case, we have our own tool called CPE Manager, where we document all our releases. So you can document these packages within your own systems as well. Or you might get the description and release notes from that system that you put in here, right? Yeah, and then a couple of options here. Display and NI Package Manager products. I would recommend ticking that, otherwise it won't show up by default. And then custom executes is a really nice, this is where the scripting happens. And there are a few options. You can, it's like very similar to LabVIEW's build, post builds and pre-builds, pre-builds and post-build features. But in this case, it's scripting. So, and I'll show you a couple of examples that I've already set up where you can decide where it needs to happen. And these pre and post install. So there's post install and post all install. The difference is post install is when it runs that just after you install the package, and post all install is when say if your feed has 4 packages, it'll run those scripts after all 4 packages are installed. All right, and then yeah, say we select something, we go create new, and then decide where, or reference where your root is, where the script's going to run, and you might have say CMD and call your application you want to run, and then arguments for it. There are a few options here. Wait for complete, ignore errors, and so on. Depending on your script, you can, or depending on the executable, you can decide what you want to do there. All right, so let's look at a config that I have set up. Right. Let's just hope I don't lose Wi-Fi, because I'm using a lot of remote desktops and VPNs and stuff to make this demo work. All right. So, that's the. Oh yeah, there you go. I have this set up for this customer already. A few packages there. There you go. So, for example, test system config, you can see it has a dependency on test system utilities. So I'm using something that's installed in the utilities to run the config or install the config. So, and that being a custom execute down here, which is under post install. I guess I have created a small LabVIEW utility, a command line LabVIEW exe that imports such executive into the sequence as you install it. So that's that guy there. So my import switch exec.exe is installed in documents. That's part of the other package. And I call the XML file for switch executive, and it actually installs that. All right. I have another example from another customer where it's a bit extensive, and you can see we have a lot of. I'm going to collapse that. We have a lot of packages and package installers set up for this customer. For each of their test system, we have packages, and as they add more packages, or as they add more test systems into their common test track, we create a new package config in there and set that up. So, and yeah, we've been using this for a long time. But this customer doesn't have SystemLink, hence all these installers. So we create these packages and then package them up into installers. As you can see, in installers, you can include anything that's included, just like LabVIEW installers. You can include things that are installed on your PC, like in this case, Instrument Studio, IVI drivers, PXI platform drivers, and so on, a whole lot. And then I have specific custom packages included as well. So I have a few installers going there. All right. So say you change and make a change to that. Yep. So it really depends where your split is for packages. Hence, finding that split is important. For example, if you have your system switch executive as a separate package and test sequence as a separate package, then you can just build one. Actually, there is a downside of this one. You can't build one package. You have to build all packages. There is a downside on this, but you can ignore those. They just update the build number on the very end. But yeah, you update that version number, and you can choose to just use one package. So it really depends on how you configure the split, where if you can include multiple things, and that's when I started using this. I had everything in one package, and that turned out to be not the best decision. So I decided it's best to break it out and then build it in different place. Have multiple packages. If there's a group of packages, then you can add it into installers or in SystemLink as a feed. Right? So we'll look at SystemLink just a bit. Any questions here on package builder? We can come back to it later, but yeah. Yeah.
Are you using this just for test standard ones or just for LabVIEW ones as well?
In this one, it's test stand, but we have used it for LabVIEW as well. Yeah. I don't think it has any license associated with it. So when you install test stand, I actually go to package manager and you can download it even without anything installed. Yeah. It's a standalone. Yep.
Is there an advantage in using package builder just as LabVIEW deployment as opposed to use built-in package builder as part of the LabVIEW?
If you just have LabVIEW, it would, using the LabVIEW package, will do the job. It's exactly the same thing. It's still build the same package, same properties, everything's the same. If you have multiple packages, you want to include third-party software, then use this instead of the LabVIEW package builder. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, we do have. Yeah, you have to be really systematic. So, for example, here I have shared libraries is just a bunch of packed libraries. I don't even bring, and in test end, it's a general rule that we have set in at CPE is we don't use source code in test end. We just use packed libraries. That way, source code's outside the root, the same. It's not even in the same SVN tree. That's how we work. So we always start with packed libraries. If you need debugging, enable debugging and work that way. That's what our logic is then. So again, it does take a little bit of thinking and planning on how you build your packages. Probably a lot of trial and error, I would say. Hence, I said you need a lot of patience to get this right. Once the setup, once you have a process, it's easy. And these days, when we add packages for this customer, we don't. And the other downside is I can't copy paste packages, but I can look up another package, and even if it's few months since we built the last one, we can do that. Interesting.
Sorry, you can't actually build pack libraries.
You can't build pack libraries. Yeah.
Or XCC.
No.
Build them in LabVIEW.
Yeah.
And then you package them.
Yes. Yep. So packages, as I said earlier, are just zip files of any file. So it's just a zip file with some metadata associated with it on how to install it. Yeah.
The more good idea is the NGI solution builder that I don't think where sequencing LabVIEW builder running up a series of builds. I'm wondering if that has any interaction with the package builder as well.
I'm not sure. I've used that before when I was looking for a nice an alternative for test and deployment utility. I tried using that. Then once this was launched, I've just been using this actually, so I'm not too aware of that. Cool. All right. So, yeah. Yep. Good question. So let me see if I can bring up. I'm gonna save now. I don't want to save that. Actually, that was on. I think that was on my PC. So let's. There you go. Multiple screens. Save now. Cool. There you go. So in this case, this customer has, as you can see, we're installing some IVI drivers, Keysight LabVIEW, library suite, Keysight DAC. This customers were very much Keysight based. But let's bring up, I think it's one of these installers that, again, it's to do with your scripting. I did a little bit of research on, so you can use MSI exec. I think it was Q, oops, I typed in something, but at the very end, if you go /QF, I think it does a quiet install or something. Just look it up. There's plenty of articles online about it. But yeah, you can use scripting to say do a quiet install and just goes through, does it for you, accepts all the default things. But if you don't have that, it'll just throw up those dialogues. On your deployment station, you just go click next, and accept licenses and so on. Yeah. Cool. All right, should we jump into SystemLink? So I'm going to reopen this. Close all that. Save now. All right. So on SystemLink, once you build the packages, let's go to, there's a toolkit there or area there called package repository. As you can see, it's a package space for multiple packages. And over here, I created a feed called Truck Display Tester, where I added all those packages down there. Just to add them, you go add and upload, browse for it, opens the, and you just select the packages you want in that feed. And you can add the same package with the newer build on top, so then it actually automatically versions it as well. So let's go and add something, for example, config, which is 1 point. It's just a build upgrade, but that's fine. Add that, close. And you can see I have 2 versions of the config there, 0 build 1 and build 3. Once you've added it as a feed, you go into systems, select the PC that you want to deploy it. In this case, I'm going to select AT Rack 4 and feeds. You add your feed. So in this case, I already have it, but you can select the feed here from your package repository, or you can select it by a URL. So it could be another SystemLink server, or it could be NI downloads as well. So you can select feeds from various places. And once you add as a feed, go into available, and it does show up. There you go, Truck Display Config. I have an upgrade option. And you can choose to upgrade to that version or uninstall it as well. So if I select upgrade, go next. It's calculating your dependencies there, and go apply. You can have multiple options and you can choose to restart or not, but I know this is not going to restart, so that's fine. And then it sends a job request to your station or your PC and starts installing the software there. Yeah, so if your PC is online, you can still schedule it. And as soon as your PC becomes online, it goes and installs it. As you can, once that's installed, there you go, restart. That's done, succeeded. And if you go back to available, it's not there, but it's probably under installed. There you go, Euro test system conf. I'm not even sure which one I installed. I think it was Rust Truck Display config is 1.003. I can say that is not what you wanted. You have an issue in your production. You get a call from the CM, go select that, go back to the previous version, and immediate rollback into your previous version that works. Yeah. And depending, again, as I said, depends on how you set up your test systems or your code to accept. Sometimes you don't need restarts. Sometimes you don't even need the operator to shut down test stand or your UI. The next time it runs, it picks up the new limits or new sequence and so on. Or maybe for test sequence, it might be in memory, so you might have to just send them a message to restart test stand. Abhishek had a question about adding pop-ups. So you would create custom pop-ups using LabVIEW or any other programming languages, script it up. You can then throw up a pop-up on pre-install and ask the operator to restart. So you could actually send messages, that visual messages through the system as well. Yeah. Once that's done, you can, I was probably looking for time, so 3, maybe I'll, okay. All right, so, but once that's done, I have my test station here. Let's see if we can log in. Yeah. All right, and then I didn't have this open, running out of screens here. I need my 5 screens that I have on the desk. But yeah, if I had it in parallel, you would have seen the little pop-up that came up. And when I install the switch executor, it actually has a pop-up as well saying it's importing, please wait, kind of thing, because it takes a little while depending on number of switch configurations you have. But yeah, once that's done, let's go and look at package manager. So as I said, you could install them locally as well without SystemLink. So you could then create package installers or just copy paste packages over here, though not really recommended, but you can do that. Yeah, true. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, has those 3. It has already finished. So had the start was that feed Eero test system configured, then installing software, and then software installed. So the notifications that came up. Yeah. Thanks for that. And then let's select CPE systems. There you go. Those are the packages that's installed. I installed earlier from SystemLink. Yeah. But you can see it locally as well. So yeah, and it could be plan B. So say for whatever reason you have IT issues and you can't get into SystemLink and you upload it to OneDrive and get somebody over there on the other side to download it and install. And when SystemLink comes back online, it's going to sync everything anyway. So it'll work out. Cool. And then you can, once that's done, your operator can start testing. Hopefully, nobody in the office has removed the PCB from that, but let's see. It's almost 5, right? So it shouldn't be that. After 5 now. Okay, that's bad spelling, but that's fine. That works. Yeah, scanned the wrong barcode. Yeah. Oh, I lost the dialogue. Hey, I might just type it in. C 223101. There you go. And I have just one socket enabled. And starts running a test. And let's quickly switch over to there you go. So I've switched over to switch SystemLink test monitor in this case. So under test insights results, have some predefined filters there. And that's our test running there live. And you can see all the results as they pop up on SystemLink. Yeah. And just a little quick, there's nothing to do with software deployment, but I'm going to check that. I think that's the regulator voltage, 4 volts. You can see your test results there. And those 2 black lines are the test limits defined. You can hover your mouse on the outliers. It shows you what the value was, why it failed. Has some statistics there. I don't know if you guys at ResMed could use this. Might be. Or you could add. The nice thing is these statistics here are from Python scripts, notepad, like notebooks set up in SystemLink. So you can add your own notebook and add a column here for your own analysis as well.
Like whether the data is normal. Check whether the data is normal.
So that's your data. You can see the outliers there. So those blue dots there, and there are the outliers, and the rest of the data there is there.
I guess what point was to not actually pay capitalize.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, you can add, as I said, custom scripts into, yeah, these are the default that comes out of the box. This wasn't even there. I think, it started with me and Max when I first launched SystemLink Test Monitor, and now they've slowly added. But yeah, and then you can add your own custom scripts into it. Yes. This one, right? Yeah. Yeah, there you go. That's your histogram there. Cool. Yeah.
So in this case, you run LabVIEW program running a test upload results.
Yeah.
If the server is off,
Yeah.
those results get latency, or how does it handle that situation?
There is an option in test stand. So quickly, you're using test stand instead of LabVIEW here, but let's jump into test stand. It's quite easy to configure. So again, I thought this might happen, but if you're okay, well, you're digressing into test monitoring instead of SystemLink, not software deployment. But cool. So go into configure result processing. So that's your SystemLink test monitor client config. Go into settings there. So there is enable store and forward. So there's a data store locally where you can, when disconnected from server, it stores locally and then forward it to the server when it's back online. All right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Package in the sense. Yes, so the first package, hence I said the first package might have to be a package installer that you install. But those packages, the custom packages I installed earlier, those I installed for the first time today. I didn't have any issues there. Yeah, so yeah, you add those. You could either add those as feeds, or you can create an package installer to add those test and runtimes and accept all those licenses and so on. Yeah, so the first time, but I have also done with, as you saw, there were 4 E-road racks. So I actually installed SystemLink client on all 4. On the first rack, I went in and installed everything manually. So I actually used offline installers that I downloaded from ni.com, installed test and LabVIEW drivers and so on. And in SystemLink, that's the web page. Let's go back to the systems manager. I can select multiple test tracks and go software, and it shows what are installed and not installed. And if you have any deviations, let's see if I can find one. Unlikely, because I have actually kept them in sync, at least on those 2. I don't, but yeah, if you find any, oh, there you go, there's one. And Linux RT system, we don't use Linux, but you can see that only one of them has it installed. And then you can choose to change them as well. So yeah, I actually installed on one PC and then selected all 4, did the software compare, and then went from there. Yeah. All right, so also you can do like a text compare under, there you go, which does the compare of all your packages and just go straight to anywhere that doesn't match up. So you can do that with your custom packages as well. Cool. All right. So challenges for adoption. Yeah, that's my daughter there. We weren't impressed with my wife taking this photo. All right, so cost. So which is probably the first question that most customers ask, right? What's the cost for an option? So yeah, it's not cheap, but you'll. So, I don't want to give away any prices here, but yeah. There is a client cost. So your licenses include server cost, and then each client costs are around 5% of the server cost-ish. So say, don't quote me here, but I think the server is around $4,000-ish. Standard one, not the advanced one which I showed here. Standard is still available, I think. You can still, yeah. And then each node is around $200 or $300. For subscription. Yeah. Yeah. The test monitor module. So the server has, so there's client node licenses for each of these modules. Plus the server also has a server, they call it user licenses for the server. Yeah, but again, it's just how you justify it, right? And it's not easy. And we just got eRoad onto it. They're going live on their dedicated server in a few days. A few days actually, on 7th of November. And for those tests you saw there, they've been using the server for the past 4 or 5 months. It saw a lot of data. The buy-in from the production engineer was really quick because he saw the value straight away in it, because it saved a lot of time for him to qualify the test systems. And these are the couple of the racks have already reached their CM in Indonesia. And yeah, so the buy-in from the production engineer was really quick, but he had to gather the data, show it to the leadership team to get their buy-in, and we got the PO last month. So there is, yeah, trying to convince, it is not easy to justify it. And the other two hurdles we're still facing with a couple of other customers, IT hurdles, especially in big companies. Yeah, IT needs to know everything. And that's just a big hurdle. They don't like giving permissions, opening ports, though it doesn't need too many ports opened, but yeah, they don't like doing any of that. And then that becomes a hurdle. And investment in legacy processes. I was talking to a couple of guys here today, and if you already have a system that does it, then yeah, you might not see value in SystemLink. And we have customers who started doing their own thing, I think a year before SystemLink launched, and it was too late because they already invested quite a lot into that process.
I agree. The value is if you don't have anything,
yeah,
the cost to go and create all that yourself.
Yeah.
A lot more.
Yeah. So. First 2.5 years, earlier this year. Test results, yeah. And though SystemLink launched in 2018, there are still issues, which I was talking to Nancy about earlier today. There are stability issues, especially when we do upgrade it. It's come a long way, don't get me wrong. The first version from 18.2 to 2020, 3Q, whatever we're using now, has come a long way, but I think they've added more features than and support and documentation or non-existent. So the package builder side of it, I had a PDF. I downloaded the PDF from, and so the package builder side of it, what I talked, they're roughly about the same effort, right, to do both. There's 152 pages of documentation if you download from ni.com, and SystemLink package builder, other software deployments, 11 pages. So, and you might run into support issues with SystemLink because it is still new among the NI AEs as well. So, yeah. I think we discussed some of these key takeaways today, but yeah, it's still value, and you can start using a package builder side of it straight away if you don't, because it's at least it doesn't have any cost implications in buying licenses, and gives you a nice way to deploy packages. Add SystemLink on top of it gives you value, but it has cost associated with it. And then you have a gateway then to manage your development and deployment, between development and deployment. And this is a process, not the solution. So this is not the end game. You still need your processes, other processes and documentation and all that around this, but it just makes that a little bit easier. And then we talked about the adoption challenges as well. All right.
We're done.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, thank you.